Welcome to Art with Janine Liza on YouTube. I hope you'll enjoy this class. Before starting the class, please remember to click the subscribe button and help support my channel. Thank you. In this class, we'll be doing a painting called Persevering Penguins. Materials: watercolor paper taped to a board, paper towel, paintbrushes, size 3/4 inch flat brush and a size 3 round brush, plus a pencil. We'll use a palette, some cups of water, and watercolor paint in tubes. We'll also use an eraser and a ruler. We'll start by drawing a line just above the center of the page horizontally. Then we're going to move the ruler down a little bit, but a little higher than the center of the lower part, and draw another horizontal line. Now we're going to look at the space that we're going to put the penguins in. So I've got my ruler at about 4.5 inches in this position on the page. I'm going to put two penguins side by side with one reaching out to the other. And so I've got some cutouts here I can show you. This is roughly the size of the penguins. You want them to be a little bit off the base of the page, but also their heads will be a little bit above the top line as well. So we'll put one here, and we want to leave a little gap between them. I'm just putting a little dot at 0 and then at 4 inches. And then over on the other side here, I'm leaving quite a space. I'm going to put another dot at the top and at 4 inches, but at 4.5 inches from the bottom. And now we want to look at the gap between them. There's a gap of 3.5 inches between the two dots. Now to draw some pear shapes as the sort of base shape of the penguins, and adjust them a little as we go to get it the way that it needs to look. So I'm just going to erase a little bit and adjust the shape. There we go. I'll just do some erasing and some drawing, refining the lines a little. And once you've drawn the first shape, you can go to the second one. And this one I'm going to put a little bit of a bump on the top that looks like the head of the penguin's kind of tilted sideways a bit. There we go. And adjusting again, I want to get my lines nice and curved. There we go. And the same on this one, I might make the head a little bit larger. I'll just keep adjusting until I get it the way I'd like it to look. And I can use the stencils as a guide. Those stencils I had made, I drew the penguins, and then I made these stencils for when I went into schools and did classes for the younger students to make the painting a little easier and fun. We had the little stencils for them to draw around. So now I'm doing the feet with little points for the claws, and then the webbing between the toes. And we'll just put two like this, kind of like little duck feet. There was a little curve between each toe that goes to a point, kind of like when you're drawing holly, like the plant holly. I'll just try and get the feet roughly the same size so that they're matching. There we go. I'm pressing quite hard with the pencil here so that you can see, but just before I paint I'll probably erase lightly so that the pencil doesn't show up too much over the paint. There. Now I'm going to start on the flippers and some other shapes on the penguin. Reshape a little bit here so that the edge of the flipper is a little flatter on the inside. Now I'm going to attempt the beak, like drawing the beak, but I'm probably going to change it, so the second attempt is going to be the final look. So I put the beak in here and then draw the circle for the head, like sort of round off the face, a little curve there on the beak, and then round off the face, and then I realize the beak needs to be a little bit larger, so I make adjustments. So I'm just going to now make that larger, and I will keep adjusting things as I go. So if you don't press too hard with your pencil, you'll be able to erase and adjust as well. Now to draw the second flipper. Just a slight curved line there, and then another larger curved line going towards the belly. And out, and just over the edge line of the penguin. And then I'll do another line coming from the back of the head here, and sort of wavy, a little bit wavy. There we go. And that just gives a little bit of character, and you can erase the line that is inside the flipper area. That is not needed. And later we'll erase the horizontal lines that are going over the penguins as well from the background. And here's a little curve for the black patch on the back of the penguin. Now to round the head on this penguin and start putting the details on. We want them to be similar. So this needs to be a little larger, a little more rounded. There we go. And then we can erase the lines we don't need. I'm going to draw the beak pointing towards the other penguin, so the penguin appears to be looking at the other one. Because of the circle, the curve is going towards the beak, but I'm going to just adjust that quickly and put the curve going the other way. There we go. So it's a bit like a cone. And just erase the lines on the inside of the beak there. And then we'll erase the lines that are inside the circle here. And next I will be drawing the flippers on this penguin. Starting just under the chin here, curving outwards and then straight down, and then on this side, down and slightly out, and then in line with the belly. And then I'm going to put the other part of the flipper from here and bring it out a bit and join it down here. Then erase the inside line there. Now I'm going to draw the flipper that is reaching out to the other penguin. I won't make them exactly touch, but I will give the appearance that it's reaching out towards the penguin, and it's very sweet. This penguin's partner will be carrying the egg, and if you've watched anything about penguins, you'll know that they have an immense amount of perseverance, and they face a lot of challenges to protect their young. I'm now going to put a line on the beak. There we go. This will separate the top from the bottom. And on this one, And then I'm going to put a little shape on the beak that is a triangle right here. These will be a cute sort of cartoon version of emperor penguins. There we go. And now I'm going to draw the patches on the side of the head on each penguin. The emperor penguin has this little patch of color on its head, and so I'm just going to put something here to indicate that. And here on this side too, there's a round patch. This is not the eye. This is just a patch on the face, and the eye will be nearby. This little almond shape right here. There we go. The almond-shaped eyes. Lovely. And I've lined it up with the beak. So that's one way to think of it, getting it in line. The eye is sort of the corner of the eye is facing the beak. And now for the egg, that is going to be down here, being held on the feet and with the belly of this penguin. So I've done an oval shape down here. I'm going to erase the horizontal lines that are sitting on the penguins that are part of the background. We're almost ready to start painting. And then I'm going to erase a little bit of all of the lines to lighten them up so that they don't show up too much through the paint. So it looks more like a painting and less like a drawing when it's finished. However, some areas will be painted black, so it won't be too noticeable, but I like to do this anyways. So now is the point in this class where if you are doing this class in two parts, for instance, if you're doing this in a classroom with students and you want to do the drawing one day and then the painting the next day just to make it fit within the art period, once the erasing is done, the students could put their initials down in the corner and put this aside for following the next steps to do the painting in the next class. You can just pause the video here and then continue it when you do the painting. For those who are continuing now with this artwork, we will finish erasing, we will prepare the paints and start painting. With our watercolor paint in tubes, we'll put some ultramarine blue or just a nice sky blue sweet pea size drop on the palette. A small drop of rose in the palette hole. If you don't have rose, you can use a tiny drop of red to make a pink. A little drop of yellow. With the 3/4 inch flat brush, I am going to put 4 drops of water into an empty palette hole for the blue, and 4 drops in each of the rose and the yellow. Now I want to access the top of the painting, so I'm going to turn the board around, and sometimes I like to paint the sky upside down because the sky is then closer to me. I'm going to stir the pink and the yellow. Then I'm going to take a tiny drop of blue with the tip of the size 3 round brush, a little bit from the top there, and put that in the 4 drops of water. Give that a stir, and then I'll show the colors on some paper towel so you can see the colors we're aiming for. Very light blue, nice pink, and a nice yellow. There you go. Now using a 3/4 inch flat brush, I'm going to just put some water on the sky area. not over the top of the, like, not on the penguins, but around the penguins' heads there, and just gently spreading some of the water across. And this just fills the pores of the paper and allows the paint. This is when you want to do what's called tipping technique, which is what I'm going to do here. You want to wet the paper first, and this fills the pores so that when the paint is applied, it doesn't sink in right away, it floats on the surface. And this will allow the paint to stay wet long enough while you're applying the different colors, so that you can get the effect you're looking for. So I'm just applying some blue now, and you can see the water on the paper actually makes it look even lighter. And we want a really light colored effect here anyways. So I'm putting blue here and here. There's a bit of a diagonal space in the middle. And I'm going to put some yellow, and then we'll put some pink in. While the background's still wet, I'm moving quite quickly and just sort of applying this, but notice I'm not rubbing too hard on the paper, just gently applying this. Now for the rose, and we'll put it in different spots. I'll put some in the blue area, some in the yellow. And again, the background's still wet, you can see it's shiny, and dropping the pink into the wet. Now we're tipping. So I'm going to grab some paper towel, and I'm going to tip slightly forward, but not enough that it runs past that line, and slightly sideways. Either way, both sides, and this spreads the colors into each other. This is why it's important they're still wet, so they move into each other while they're still wet and create this beautiful effect. And if you lose a color, you can always drip a little bit more of a color into it. So I noticed I could use a little bit more blue on this side. The paint's already quite weak, so I was drying my brush really well before applying it, so I got the strength of the color. And you can see this running into the yellow and the pink here. And of course you're going to want to tip your board sideways until all excess liquid drains off at the side, so that when you settle it down to dry you don't have puddles. The paper might be a little warped because it's wet, but hopefully there isn't any puddles. And getting rid of the puddles also allows the paper to dry faster. Now I'm applying some more colors to the palette. I have put a little bit of yellow ochre, a little drop of orange, and a drop of black. Yellow ochre is kind of a mustardy color. I'm going to put 1 drop of water in each of these so that the concentration and intensity of the color is pretty strong. I don't need this paint to be super watery or weak in color. Now we'll just test out the colors on the paper towel so that you can see what we have. We have the black, I think it's an ivory black, orange, which is, it could also be a vermilion, which is a red-orange, and yellow ochre, which is the mustardy color. If you don't have this, you could always put a tiny drop of brown into some yellow paint, and that would give you a yellow ochre color. With 2 drops of water in an empty palette hole, I'm going to create a stronger value of the blue. So I'm going to take a drop of this blue here and put that in the water. And this is going to be used for the water in the background and some areas of the ice in the front. There we go. With the small brush and the yellow ochre, I'm going to paint the penguin's feet. And I'll paint a little piece of the patch on the side of the penguin's faces with the yellow. I'm keeping my brush busy on areas away from the sky at this moment just to give it extra time to dry. It's good to move around like that in your watercolor painting, you know, let one area dry and focus on another. Now for the orange or the vermilion on the side, the lower side of the beak. Now to make a little bit of grey, I'm going to put a drop of water in a palette hole, get a touch of black on a small brush, and mix it in. This grey is going to be used to paint the egg. I'll just paint the oval in this value of grey, and I'll show you what the strength of it is on the paper towel. Once that layer of grey is dry, we'll add a little bit more just around the edges. And we want the middle of the egg to be a little bit lighter. If you need to, you can take a little bit of paper towel and just fold it and just lift the paint from the center of the egg. Then I'm going to dip into the yellow paint and put that on the egg, and then a little bit more grey. It can look a little marbly with yellow and grey, or it can just be brighter in the middle with yellow and then the edges a little deeper in the grey. And of course just gently dabbing off any puddles. Now I'm going to work on this area here and add the water using the stronger value of the blue. Just going to fill this in carefully, go around the edges first, and then down to that line where the ice will start. And carefully, now the sky is dry, I can fill in this area here without the blue spreading into the sky. There we go. Now just move across the paper this way and paint the rest of the water in the background. Using the small brush to carefully go around the edges and then filling it in either with the small or the larger brush. the side of the small brush, I'm going to use some of the blue, the same blue from the water, and just put some dashes, some horizontal dashes on the foreground area, the snow area. It just gives it a little bit of an icy look. Now with the fuller concentration of the blue and a few drops of water, I'm going to make a stronger value. Just with the small brush, a few drops of water on the small brush. And we're going to use this for some horizontal strokes on the water that indicate movement in the water and like little waves. And now I'm going to wash the brush and use a little bit of this grey that I made and a tiny bit more black into that grey. Let's just make it a little bit stronger. We'll just test it out here again so you can see the value. A little bit stronger than the first grey. And this is going to be used for little lines on the belly and so the leg area of the penguins. These curved lines just indicate that the egg is snug in there between the belly and the legs. The feet are kind of holding it in place. And then the other penguin will have a couple of sort of creases for where his legs are. Going back to the black paint now, I'm going to add a couple more details, filling in the eyes, but when we paint the eyes, we just leave a tiny little shine. So if you can use the very tip of your brush to barely touch the paper and color in the eye and leave just a little tiny white speck, it really does leave the effect of a shiny sort of eyeball in there. If you are unable to leave like a little tiny speck of white, that's okay too, because you could always get a little drop of white paint once everything is dry, like it has to be completely dry, and then just put a tiny drop of concentrated white paint onto the eyeball and it will give the same effect. Now to paint the black areas of the penguin. This portion of the video has been sped up. You can still see the demonstration, it's just going a little faster. Once the black areas are completed, the video will resume in normal speed. These characters look so cute. Now I'm going to put some horizontal and kind of almost zigzaggy lines on the ice. Just little shadows on the ice. I don't know, it just adds to it a little, so I just felt like doing that. I'm also going to add some of the black, a little touch on top of the shadows by the egg, and perhaps do a little detail on the toes of the penguins. With the tip of the brush, I'll just go around the pencil line on the edges of the penguin, the body, and I will use this black again with the tip of the brush to paint the little claws on the feet, and some of the little lines, the details on the edges, just smooth those out if I need to, and perhaps little tiny lines on the feet to sort of indicate the bones area, and also a touch on the shadow around the egg and the legs, and just around the edges of the egg, just to redefine the depth of the shadow around that too. And I'm going to add a little bit more yellow, just blending that grey a little bit and trying to leave the center of the egg lighter. And I'm going to add a little bit more yellow just to enhance the color of the egg, just so it doesn't look too grey. There we go. And to sign my initials down in the corner. This has been a fun painting. I hope that if you've tried this out, you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to making more classes. Thank you for viewing and or trying out this class. If you'd like to find more classes like this one, please go to and subscribe to Art with Janine Liza on YouTube. Thank you.